To be able to manage our finances, we're going to take you through a series of personal financial management using the 9 building blocks. And this is going to help you to be able to manage your finances and even grow them. The 9 building blocks, the very first one is, do you have a financial vision? Do you know what you want to do with your money? Do you know where you want to be? What kind of home you want to live in? Where you want your children to go to school? Better still, the kind of lifestyle you're going to have at 70 years old. It's very, very important before you start your financial management journey to first have a very clear vision of where it is that you want to go and you want to have. The second building block, after your vision is very clear, have you set your financial goals? I know it's very cliche, and so many people think that setting goals is that thing that you do at the beginning of the year and throw it away. But goals are just simply a roadmap. They guide you on where it is that you want to go. For example, if at 70 you want to have retired, have you put in place income that is going to take you to that retirement? Have you put in place what it is that you want to be at that time, or where you want to stay, or where your children are going to be? You want to take your children to school. What kind of schools? What kind of income do you need to be able to take them there? So it's very important to have those financial goals because they set the journey and the roadmap to that journey. So now that we have our vision clear and we have our goals clear, the next step is that we must budget for our money. Budgeting is simply having your money in place and telling it where to go. Most people think that budgeting is just for you to spend your money. No, budgeting is guiding your money and telling it where do you want your money to go and what is your income, what is coming into your pocket, and then you guide it on where to go. If you do not budget, I don't know if most of you are like how I used to be before, where I'd go to town with a few shillings in my pocket, and in the evening I cannot account for where that money is. But when you budget for your money, then you tell your money where to go and you give it direction. Budgeting will simply tell it, this is for spending, this is for investment, and this is the income that is actually coming in. We have our financial vision right, we have set our goals, we've budgeted for our money. Do you have a savings culture? That is number 4. You need to be able to save your money, because if you do not save your money, you're working for everybody else. You're working for the landlord, you're working for the supermarket, because when you earn that money, you're paying it out to all these other people. But the most important is, do you pay yourself? It is you that makes that money. So before you start saving money, before you start spending that money, save a portion of it, 10% or 20%. Save for an emergency, save for investment, save to grow your money. Do not work for everybody else. Think of yourself first, because you make the money, you need to be able to save it. I know so many people do not like to save, or when you tell them to save, they're like, if that money can't buy a bag of cement, eat that money. No. What I want you to take out of this today is that saving is a payment to yourself. Bills are payment to everybody else. So pay yourself, think of yourself. We now have our vision right, we have set our goals, we have budgeted our money, and we have built a savings culture. Building block number 5 is, how can you then be debt-free? How can you manage your debt? So many of us find ourselves in debt, not because we are big, not because we do not care about our finances, but majority of us are big spenders. We want to live with the Jonases and keep up with them. Live within your means. I'm not saying do not enjoy your life, but what is the use of enjoying your life when you are in debt? Because when you're in debt, you're actually a slave of the person that lent you the money. So do you want to keep a slave, or do you want to grow your money? How then do you manage your debt? The most important way of being out of debt is, which will come as building block number 6, is your emergency fund. The reason most of us fall into debt is because we do not look out for emergencies. We do not look out for unforeseen circumstances. I think which we would call ebigwabitalaze. That is what they call it in a local language. Most of us do not plan for that, and then we find ourselves in debt. So you'll ask yourself, what is an emergency fund? An emergency fund is simply an amount of money that you've put aside 6 to 12 months worth of your income that you then can use in times of eventualities. Most of us, when we went through the COVID, we realized that you can actually spend 6 months away from work. You can even spend 12 months away from work. What happens then? Are you able to keep that same lifestyle? What would happen if today you went back to work and they told you, we're very sorry, we don't need your services anymore? What would you do in such a circumstance? Would you have money that would help you maintain the same lifestyle, live in the same neighborhood, have 3 square meals like you should have before you get another job? So we have our vision right, we have set our goals, we have budgeted for our money, we've built a savings culture, we are out of debt, but most importantly, we have an emergency fund. It's time to grow our money. And that is building block number 7. We grow our money through investment. Remember, we built a savings culture and we said we don't just save money, we save to grow it. So in investment, you're trying to think of what are the channels that I can then use to grow this money. Am I going to use money markets? Am I going to start a business? Am I going to go into real estate? Am I going to buy shares and bonds? Am I going to buy treasury bills? There's so much out there that you can be able to invest in to be able to grow your money. So we have now invested. Are you ready for retirement? That is building block number 8. Most of us, when we think about retirement, we would want to live a very comfortable life. Remember, at retirement, you're not able to work as you work today. You're not as agile. You're not as energetic. But then you still need to eat. You still need to have proper housing and proper medication. How do you plan for that? I'll ask a question. How many of you have planned for retirement? Most of us think that you plan for retirement when you're 50 or when you're 60, but I think you should start planning for retirement the very day you get your very first salary. You should ask yourself, what will my 70-year-old self say to me? Would they say, kudos, Jackie, you prepared well for us? Or will they wallow in sorrow and say, I wish I had known that I needed to start this early? So think of retirement and work backwards and ask yourself, how much do you need in your retirement? And then how are you going to work backwards and start putting in place investments that are going to help you with that? The biggest challenge we have in Africa is most of us will invest in things like land. I'm not saying land is a bad thing, but the challenge with it, it doesn't give you the cash flow. So you find that you're asset rich, but you're cash poor. So when you are investing, make a mix of these. Make sure that you have your cash flows and make sure that you also have your assets in place. So now that we have been able to retire right, have you planned for your estate? Estate management is simply telling your money where it should go and what should happen to your investments and what should happen to everything that you have put in place if you're not here or if you're incapable to make those financial decisions. I know most of us are so scared of estate management because we're scared that anytime we start talking about estate management, probably we're going to pass away the next day. But estate management is not only for when you pass away. Think of scenarios, for example, when you are sick and incapacitated to make any decisions for your estate. Who's that person that can be able to sign your checks, maybe to make decisions, or even to make a decision of where you should go to hospital and where you shouldn't when you're incapacitated? But also, we've worked so hard for our money. We've saved it, we've invested it, we've budgeted and told it what to do. Why then don't you also do that in the afterlife and leave a legacy for your family? So remember that for you to be able to have your financial management right, you need to be able to have a financial vision, have your goals, budget your money, you need to develop a savings culture, you need to be able to invest, you need to manage your debt, you need to have an emergency fund, you need to have a retirement plan, and you need to have an estate plan. We will be able to break this down in our financial management series. Keep it locked here. Follow us on our social media handles, which are down in the description box below, and reach out to us to have a conversation and to see how we can be able to take you onto that journey of personal financial management. Thank you so much, and see you on the next one. Thank you.